The sentence arrived like a thunderclap on an ordinary evening, shattering the quiet rhythm of my life and forcing my heart to race with questions I never expected to face. A woman I had not seen in years stood before me with trembling eyes and a truth so urgent it felt heavier than the air itself. A truth that would pull both of us into a storm of judgment, sacrifice, fear, and unexpected grace. From the very first moment, I sensed that whatever choice I made would change more than just her future. It would rewrite my own in ways I could not yet imagine. Before the story goes any further, take a moment to pause and reflect. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people open their doors and hearts, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel to support stories that remind us of our humanity. Her name was Rebecca, a name I remembered from a lifetime ago when the world felt simpler and consequences seemed far away. We were in a small town in Ohio, a place where church bells still echoed on Sunday mornings and neighbors noticed when curtains stayed closed too long. Rebecca had once been the kind of person whose laughter filled rooms, whose faith felt steady and unbreakable, but the woman standing there now carried exhaustion in her posture and fear in her eyes, the kind that comes from being cornered by time itself. Life had not been gentle with her, and every line on her face told a story of nights spent praying for answers that never came. Rebecca's struggle was not born overnight. Years earlier, she had married a man named Michael, a hard-working but restless soul who dreamed of success yet never stayed long enough to build it. They moved across several states chasing opportunity, finally settling in Pennsylvania before everything unraveled. Michael's absence grew longer, his promises thinner, until one day he simply stopped coming home. What followed was a slow collapse of stability. Bills piled up, the landlord lost patience, and the small church community that once supported her began to whisper instead of help. Rebecca was left alone with a child on the way and no legal proof of abandonment that would protect her from the harsh rules of a system that values paperwork more than pain. By the time she found her way back to Ohio, her situation had become desperate. The shelter she stayed in offered safety but not dignity, and the social worker assigned to her case delivered the news with clinical detachment. Without a stable household structure by the next day, custody arrangements and housing assistance would be reconsidered. Rebecca was facing the possibility of losing the only family she had left before she even had the chance to hold that family in her arms. That looming deadline pressed against her soul until she did the only thing she could think of. She came to me, a man she barely knew anymore, carrying nothing but honesty and hope. I had my own scars, though they were quieter and easier to hide. My name is Thomas, and I had built my life around predictability after losing my wife Sarah to illness years earlier. Grief had taught me how to survive alone, how to keep my world small and manageable. I worked as a maintenance supervisor at a local hospital, lived in a modest house on the edge of town, and spent my evenings fixing what was broken because it was easier than confronting what could never be fixed again. Letting someone into that carefully constructed solitude felt terrifying, especially someone whose pain threatened to tear open wounds I had sealed shut. The challenge was not only practical but moral. I worried about what people would think, about the gossip that would ripple through church pews and grocery store aisles. I worried about whether I was strong enough to shoulder someone else's crisis when I had barely learned to carry my own. Yet beneath all that fear was a quieter voice, one shaped by faith and loss, reminding me that love often arrives disguised as inconvenience and risk. Rebecca did not ask for romance or promises. She needed refuge, stability, and a chance to breathe without fear. That night, sleep refused to come. I sat at the kitchen table long after the house had gone silent, staring at photographs of a life that no longer existed. I remembered how Sarah used to say that compassion was not about being ready but about being willing. By morning, I understood that doing nothing would be a decision too, one that would haunt me longer than any whispered judgment. So I opened my door, not as a savior or a hero, but as a flawed human choosing mercy over comfort. Life under one roof did not instantly become a miracle. Rebecca carried anxiety like a shadow, and I carried grief that surfaced at unexpected moments. The house felt crowded with emotions that had nowhere to go. Some days were filled with awkward silence, others with overwhelming gratitude that made us both uncomfortable. Yet slowly, something shifted. Routine created safety, shared meals created familiarity, and quiet prayers spoken separately but felt collectively created a sense of peace neither of us had known in a long time. The town noticed, of course. Assumptions were made, and not all of them were kind. But there were also moments of surprising grace. A neighbor named Harold left groceries on the porch without a note. A woman from church named Margaret offered baby clothes and a smile that held no judgment. These small acts reminded us that goodness still existed, even when hidden behind caution and fear. Rebecca began to regain her strength, attending counseling sessions and prenatal appointments with renewed determination. I found myself laughing again, not out of obligation, but because life had gently nudged joy back into my days. As the due date approached, suspense filled the air like electricity before a storm. We both knew the arrangement could not last forever. Yet neither of us wanted to name the uncertainty. The night Rebecca went into labor, the hospital corridors felt painfully familiar to me, echoing with memories I had tried to forget. But this time, instead of loss, there was anticipation. When her child was born, healthy and strong, something inside me healed in a way I did not know was possible. Witnessing new life did not erase my past, but it softened its edges. In the weeks that followed, Rebecca secured independent housing with the help of renewed assistance and community support. She stood taller, spoke with confidence, and carried herself like someone who had survived a storm and learned to trust the sky again. The day she moved out was bittersweet. The house returned to its quiet state, but it no longer felt empty. It felt complete, as though its purpose had been fulfilled and expanded. Just before this story reaches its end, I want to ask something heartfelt. Please leave a comment sharing where you are watching from or what part of this story resonated with you most. Your words mean more than you know, and they help this community grow through shared compassion. Rebecca and I did not end our journey as a fairy tale couple, and that truth is what makes the story real. We became something quieter and perhaps more meaningful. We became proof that kindness does not require romance, that faith does not always look like certainty, and that sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is open their home when the world tells them to close it. Her life moved forward, and so did mine, each of us changed by a season that began with desperation and ended with gratitude. If this story touched your heart, stirred your faith in humanity, or reminded you that even ordinary people can become answers to urgent prayers, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that shine light into dark places. Your engagement helps